to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 231. My name is John Morgan. Cold Coffee is with me. We are in Las Vegas, and it is a hot August afternoon, that time of the year where you just start saying, all right, summer, I'm ready for you to be done. And as Cold Coffee joins me right now, I'll just tell you, we'll peel back the curtain a little bit. Just before we started recording, in the Learn Something New Every Day category.
Unfortunately, learn something new.
And also, How Dumb Are You, Morgan category. I have damaged my computer, my laptop here, basically the lifeblood of how I make a living, of how we provide content for MMA Junkie, of how we do everything. I mean, this is my ball and chain. I am strapped to this bad boy.
It's true.
Damn near 24/7. And
it's the one thing that always comes on vacations.
100%. And it is now it has a broken mouse pad. Cold Coffee is on a whole different side of things. He got a brand new computer delivered to him today. I was here as it arrived, courtesy of the fine folks at USA Today. You got a brand new computer because you were having issues with your old one. They got you a new one. And as you were unpacking it, I just wanted to see the box and see the details. And
we were literally smelling the box because it was a new computer box.
Checking out the specs. I was trying to read I was seeing what you had on there, and the power
adapter or whatever.
Yeah, the
power
big square. You know, if you know a Mac, you know what I'm talking about. That big square. It was still in the box, and I didn't think about that. And it fell. And when it fell directly onto my mouse pad, which shattered. It's crazy. I had no idea that little mouse pad that you see in the little front part of your Mac, if you have one. We both have MacBook Pros, so I'm assuming maybe every MacBook Pro is like this. But there's some kind of glass on there.
Glass,
I guess.
because it looks definitely glass and not or maybe some sort of super thin plastic.
Yeah, it could be plastic. Could be plastic.
But
glass. The way it broke, it shattered almost like glass.
Literally.
It does. Now that I look at probably some kind of just really fine plastic or something. But there's
super fine.
But
I've looked at this a million times and I've never thought that there was some sort of film or cover.
Not for a moment.
Not at all.
Well, so here's the funny thing is that I leave on Sunday for Abu Dhabi. I am the video guy in Abu Dhabi. The young Mike Bond will be there with me. Farah Hanoun will be there as well.
Is she really?
Yeah, so she'll be there as well. She was actually already going to be there before she came on board the MMA Junkie team. So we're all going to work together there. But I'm going to be the video guy, which means I'm going to be heavily intensive on my MacBook here. And I've got a wounded soldier here helping me out. So what we have done...
Scotch tape and everything.
Yeah, I was going to say, what we have done here is some high-level repairs on the fly, because there's no way I'm going to be able to get to an Apple store and get it back and repaired in time. We just took some Scotch tape, and I laid down some Scotch tape over the cracks, and hopefully that'll keep everything in place. I did, thank you.
Because it looks like it literally, for somebody, so think if you're ever driving around the road and you're unfortunate enough on the highway that a pebble hits your window, and then you get that little spider web.
There you go.
And then it starts to spread out from that. That literally is what has happened to his mouse pad. And it's funny because it dropped. And at first I thought, oh, man, it left like a imprint on the thing. And then I looked closer and I was like, oh, my God, dude, that's literally shattered.
Yep.
And for a moment, we just both kind of dumbfoundedly stared at his mouse pad like, what the hell just happened? And it's the most bizarre thing because, yeah, you have like that crack, that spider webbing out a good 2-3 inches from the impact. By the end of your trip,
it stretches all the way.
It'll probably stretch all the way out. But hopefully the tape will stop it. But luckily, I had a wireless mouse pad or wireless mouse that I used to travel with that because I would bring a mouse pad and actually. When I was trying to edit, I was like, oh, maybe I'll use this. And then after a while, I was like, all right, it was more stuff to carry than I wanted to, so I haven't had it. But fortunately, I have that so that,
I do have a backup plan if this thing fails. So don't worry if anybody from USA Today or MMA Junkie is listening. Don't worry. We got a backup plan. We're going to be able to operate. And then here's the really bad part is that this is my wife's computer that I've been using since December because my computer – if anybody will remember that, I'm sure we talked about this on the roadshow as well. Yeah, I spilled coffee in my other computer.
I thought you got that all squared away.
No. It's still sitting there in my office, and I just haven't
taken
it by.
Oh, good
I haven't
Lord.
gotten that repaired.
Uh-oh.
So this is my wife's computer.
Luckily, she doesn't listen to this podcast
at all. So she'll never know.
she'll never know.
So I've got to get 2 computers repaired now. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to take some vacation days to get things fixed. But
that's what sucks. Yeah, because, I mean, there's no easy fix, especially something like this, because you can't just be like, oh, hey, drop in and, hey, I'll come back in an hour.
Yeah, they got to ship it off somewhere.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to take it, but wow.
There you go. So this literally happened, I mean, like right before we pressed record. So
probably less than 30 minutes before we started recording.
Dealing with a little bit of a shock as I do this, but hey, we carry on. And you know what? It's par for the course. It's par for the course right now because I've had this nonstop. You know, the last road show, I sat down, I recorded it at American Top Team, which was a fantastic day, media day out there. I talked about the adventures I'd had the week before, you know, the whole getting from Atlantic City to Anaheim and how rough that night was and everything. And truthfully, it was funny because somebody called me on Twitter. I was talking about the Bellator event really quick, you know, hey, here's what to watch. And somebody was like, and I think it might have been Joe from H-Town. I don't know. But somebody was saying, how the hell did you not mention Nick Newell? And I'm like, oh, yeah. Well, I didn't mention Nick Newell because bottom line was I was trying so fast to finish the podcast because I saw the time, my window of departure kind of closing, and I was like, I was just hurrying. I was you know, just trying to get finished. So I almost was late to getting to the airport. I was connecting from Fort Lauderdale to Charlotte, then Charlotte back to Vegas. So I was rushing to get the podcast finished. Forgot about Nick Newell on the Bellator event, which was ridiculous. But got it done.
That was something.
Get to Fort Lauderdale. I fly from there. I made it just in time, just a few minutes. Fortunately, my plane was delayed like 10 minutes. That actually helped me. That 10-minute delay helped me make it. And then I got to Charlotte, connected to Charlotte. And then as I got to Charlotte, my flight's delayed. And it keeps getting delayed. Like, it's delayed an hour. And then after an hour, they delay it like another 30 minutes. And then another 30 minutes. And then another 30 minutes. And, you know, listen, you and I, we spent a lot of time on the road. I knew what was about to happen. I called my wife, and I was like, listen, I don't think I'm going to get home tonight. They keep delaying this thing 30 minutes. But the thing about it, and there were storms in the area. I mean, there was rain. There was a reason for it. But when they do that, especially when you're talking about flights that are going to be 4 or 5 hours, now you're going to run into crew issues because your crew can only work so long. And that's exactly what happened. They didn't have enough. The crew timed out at some point. And so anyway, the flight finally gets canceled at 3 a.m. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning right now. I left my house at 2 o'clock in the afternoon the previous day. Flew to Florida, slept in the airport or slept on the plane. Went to Denny's, went to American Top Team. I mean, it's been a long day, right? But it's 3 o'clock in the morning and the flight gets canceled finally. I get really, really lucky because there was a direct flight from Charlotte to Vegas at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and they put me on that, no problem, right? So that was cool. That worked out great because I could have had to stay there like longer in the day, right? Fortunately, by the time they canceled the flight, we're only talking about 4 hours from now, so I can deal with that. Granted, I'm exhausted and all that, but it's only about 4 hours, so I felt pretty fortunate at the time. The only problem was it's 3 o'clock in the morning. We're in the Charlotte airport. There's not time to leave or anything like that. The club, the American Airlines Admirals Club, which I'm fortunate to have a membership there, great place. You can normally, you know, catch some sleep in there, a little food, maybe get a shower, whatever. But it opened at like 4:45 in the morning. It's 3, so I've got an hour and 45 minutes. I can't stay awake any longer. I'm exhausted. I tried. I can't stay awake any longer. I got to sleep. So there were like 3 planes that were canceled. There was really no place to sit. There was no place, like no good chairs or anything. There were actually people. By the way, pro tip: I saw people. You know how at the security counter they have like long tables to like look at stuff. There were people laid out on those because it's closed.
Tables?
Yeah, on the table, but they're fully laid out. I was like, good for you. That is a veteran move there. Those were all taking everything. So finally, I just ended up having to sleep on the floor.
Is that more comfortable than the floor?
I don't know. I mean,
what if you fucking really go out and then you roll your ass off it?
I didn't think about that.
That's what I would think I would do is I would roll the fuck off of it.
That would be bad. Well, maybe not a pro tip then. Maybe an amateur move. But I thought they looked comfortable.
That's when you set your friends up. You're like, bro, just go ahead. I'll take the floor.
You take the security
table,
table, bro.
You go take the table.
I thought it was a veteran move. But so finally I just lay down and I slept on the floor. And
That sucks.
It
sucks.
Happens. 41 years old, 4 a.m. in the morning, up for 36 hours already or whatever at that point, sleeping on the floor. It was not pleasant. I didn't enjoy it. But I will say this. I was sitting there, sleeping on the floor, hadn't showered in, like I said, 36 hours, feeling exhausted. But you think I was worried?
Mm-mm.
No, I wasn't worried. You know why?
Why's that?
Crop preserver.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. I was sporting my Crop Preserver ball deodorant from Manscaped.com, and I knew I was all good. This week, Cold Coffee support for the MMA Roadshow comes from the fine folks at Manscaped, who are #1 in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Listen, sometimes MMA can be a barbaric sport, but that doesn't mean we as fans have to be heathens. No, sir! Do yourself and your partner a favor and keep things in check around the old tan banana. And I'm telling you right now, use Manscaped to do it. If you're like me, you're already among the civilized gentlemen, keeping things nice and neat around the old trouser snake's humble abode. But it's never been this easy before. Let's be honest. Who among us hasn't suffered a little nick in the old Frankenbeans? You know what I'm saying? The old Bone Ranger is durable, but he's sensitive too. A little cut here or there on the one-eyed monster is no good for anyone. That's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. Their Lawnmower 2.0 has proprietary skin-safe technology, so this trimmer won't nick or snag your nuts. And if you want to go even tighter and give a clean shave to the dictator, you can follow up with the Plow, which comes with instructions, and this is real. On the instructions, it has actual instructions that say, pull the skin taut and visualize a hairless chihuahua. True story.
Whoa.
With Manscaped, manscaping accidents are finally a thing of the past. But what does the old clam hammer being I can't even say it. Being nice and tidy have to do with me sleeping on the airport floor, you ask? Well, Manscaped doesn't just have trimming supplies. They've got grooming products of all types, including the pre-mentioned Crop Preserver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant moisturizer. I mean, you already put deodorant on your armpits. Why are you not putting deodorant on the smelliest part of your body? Your one and only bald-headed sailor. Get yourself feeling right. Go to manscaped.com.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the code ROAD at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And be sure to use the code ROAD.
Always use the right tools for the job. Your balls will thank you.
They will, thank you.
They will. So all told, it ended up being like a 44-hour trek for me to get back from American Top Team. But that was a great day. All that stuff is up on the YouTube page. It's on MMA Junkie. Make sure you check out all the interviews we had. Colby Covington, George Masvidal. Got in touch with Greg Hardy. Somebody actually called me out and said they were disappointed in me for giving him any airtime whatsoever. But once I got back,
that shit never goes away.
It never does.
People they just want us to never talk to him again.
To never talk to him at all.
It's not going to happen, folks. We're going to talk to him. We're going to talk to him.
He's out there. He matters. So if I wasn't feeling old enough,
at least your balls look good.
My balls look good. But if I wasn't feeling old enough, I got back, and first stop, of course, was B-Dubs.
Yes.
As you do. Got to get a couple frosty beverages in.
I think your fucking car, even if you try to pass B-Dubs, would probably do that auto swerve.
Swerves right
where
over.
It just goes, takes you right into it.
Stopped right there. I walked in the door, and I ended up just accidentally kicking a chair. It wasn't like their fault. Like I was exhausted and not really paying attention.
Yeah, I was going to say a chair is an inanimate object.
Yeah, it wasn't their fault. It wasn't like it was just out in the middle of the road. Yeah, I'm not trying to
You're not blaming the chair.
No, but I kicked it on accident. And ended up breaking my toe from kicking a chair. So, pretty embarrassing. I'm getting old.
Did you tell your kid that?
No, did not. My kid is.
He would literally bust your balls.
Oh, but
your cleanly shaven balls.
1,000%.
He'd be like, "Dad, you suck.
You are ridiculous." He's out there doing grappling tournaments and trying to get a black belt. I'm breaking
toes, kicking chairs.
So nothing I can do as it gets better except basically just kind of stay off it as much as possible. And use these liquid painkillers right here. Just award-winning.
Award-winning in America right there in a can.
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
That will help you.
All right, listen. Let's get into some MMA. As I was heading home, we didn't get a chance to talk about it because Conor McGregor broke his silence, did the big 40-minute long interview with Ariel Helwani of ESPN. And I just a couple things. I mean, it's been about a week now. Like I said, it happened while I was flying home, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But
you're gonna give me grief.
Oh, why would I give you grief?
Because I didn't watch it.
You haven't watched it?
No.
What is wrong? Well, actually,
because
I'm gonna say
I'm just like I knew what it was gonna be, and I was just like, I don't fucking care.
I find
like,
that a little bit telling.
I don't have to do anything with it.
I find that a little bit telling, and all right. So let me say this then. First of all, for me, smart way for Conor to do it. Conor gets it, man. His power of social media and power of media, he understands. Yeah. I do one interview, and every outlet in the world is going to pick up on this. I don't need to do a press conference. I don't need to do a call. I need to speak to one outlet, and it will go everywhere. So I say props to Conor McGregor. I think
a very friendly outlet.
Yeah, a very friendly outlet. It did in watching it, and it's funny because I think what you just said is very intelligent in many ways. I won't give you grief because it kind of tends – it plays into what I was going to say is that as I watched it, it felt very much to me like it was just something that he had to do. You know,
right.
I mean, and he did have to do it. To be honest with you, it's not fun, but he hasn't addressed any of these things. He hasn't. Right. Every time we've reached out to him, he hasn't wanted to say anything, and I get it.
That's the thing. Like he got in trouble multiple times without like saying anything. Mm-hmm. At least, multiple times the things have come out. You know, right. the father, the rumors of the harassment and all the other stuff overseas, you know, and like he hasn't said anything and he just was away from the public. So you knew at some point he had to break his silence, you know, but man.
And I think the punching the old man
right
in the bar, that was it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Everything else along the way, there were explanations, there were discussions, there was like, I mean, when you saw that video, this is what I said from the beginning, there is no audio. But can you imagine a single scenario in which you would go, oh, I see what Conor was thinking.
I see what he was doing.
No.
I see that.
No.
The first things that I really got, because I saw it and I was just like, what the hell? I mean, just another moment that just leaves you scratching your head. But when I started seeing some clips and stories of Irish bars that were pouring his whiskey down the toilet and other shit, I was like, okay, now the Irish are starting to say, like, he's not ours. You know, we're not so proud to have him anymore.
Okay, but you know what? This is what I think. If he didn't have the whiskey business,
right,
I don't think he would have done it. I don't think this was about protecting his name as a fighting brand.
Sure.
I think this was about protecting that whiskey business.
I could see that.
You know what I mean? That's because he can go. I mean, look, he can. Well,
go back I guess it's part. It's part of his brand. I think it's part of saving his brand. I guess the whole package,
right?
Because since that Proper 12 is so tied to his name, if his name goes down, the whiskey goes down.
That's it.
So I think by not saying anything, he was further hurting just any overall future potential, even outside of the whiskey.
Right.
You know, whether it be movie deals or something, nobody wants to go cast a guy that just did just punched an old man.
It's not to protect his fighting career. He could keep fighting.
He can keep fighting, or he never has to fight again. At this point,
course.
he never has to fight again. He's won belts. He's won plenty of money. If he wants to just do circus sideshow fights off to the side, that's fine. I mean, good for him. But to have this business, which is where, you know, this is leaving a legacy that his family can take over. You know, you can't just expect your son to take like your son is not going to take over your fighting business.
Right.
You know, but your son can take over your whiskey business.
Right.
Your whatever communication brand, your whatever you want to start. So this is important for him to fix at least the brand to where it won't hurt his business.
That's it. You have to acknowledge it. It's a very professional PR move.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what you had to do. I will say, and it's again plays into you saying you didn't even bother watching it. It doesn't mean anything to me until we see everything over time. I mean, he did what you're supposed to do. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Let's move forward, and that's cool. But now we got to see, does he change? Does he move forward? And I hope he does, man, because I've said it before. Covering the rise of Conor McGregor was so fun, man. The energy that guy brought to it. Oh, my God, they were amazing. I mean, the quick wit, the energy, the smile, the laugh. You know what I mean? Just everything about him was, I mean, it was fun. It was cool. It was exciting.
Yeah.
Towards the end, and I shouldn't say towards the end because he could fight another 10 years, but I should say more recently, I guess, it's felt more like a chore to me, to be honest. It hasn't been fun. And to me, it all started with the El Chapo thing, and then it became about like gangster this and gangster that. And then
that was all silly and fun at that time, you know. At least for me, when I'd watch it, I was like, okay, that's a little just off-putting. Like I wasn't so taken back by, oh yeah, you want to, you know, model yourself off of a guy that's a fucking drug pin that's supposedly orchestrated killing so many loads of people, you know. That's okay, that's fine, that's a funny little gimmick, I'm just going to ignore that. But what it used to be. I mean, it was fun watching this rise and really getting joy in watching a person's career just shoot for the moon,
Absolutely.
become this huge thing. And then at some point, it became weird, and now it was like watching a downfall of a human being, and I found myself now wanting him just to be okay as a human.
Yes.
And it switched from me thinking of him as a fighter that I'm watching for entertainment. Somehow, in the grand scheme of everything, when you get, but I guess you get tied to these fighters, you get tied to their life. It switched, and not that I'm saying that it's not fun or whatever, but it just like at somewhere it became weird, and now it's like I'm watching this man's life, whether it's on the precipice of just falling down into just everything is crashing and falling apart, or are we going to see somebody get back in there and fight, and it's just different because now I don't even think about, oh, I can't wait to see him fight again. It's just like, man, I just want him to not be in trouble and have us not hear a story.
That's it. I mean, listen, you can't fault his methods, I guess, because he did it. I mean, he lived the dream, right? He came from nothing, and provided he doesn't make bad financial decisions moving forward, he set him and his family up for life through the fight game. The fight game, right? I mean, he thought outside of the box. He became the champ when Dana never wanted to have a champ.
Yeah.
He got himself the ability to fight in a boxing fight against Floyd Mayweather. We sat on this very podcast when they first started talking about it and said, guys, what are we wasting our time talking about this?
It's not going to happen.
This is never going to happen. Right. And Conor McGregor made it happen. You know what I mean? Like, you can't fault what he did. He is the dream. But you're right. I mean, I remember this before the Chad Mendez fight, having a big media lunch at Boa Steakhouse in Los Angeles, and asking him, like, is this still fun for you? Because it used to seem fun, and now it seems like work. And I remember him saying, look, man, this is big business. And, yeah, big business is fun, but there's a lot on the line. And he's right. He took everything serious. But you're right, man. Now that I'm around him, like, and I'm not trying to trust me, I ain't feeling sorry for Conor McGregor. I mean, he's accomplished great things as an athlete. He's accomplished, as we just said, all his financial things for his family. It's amazing. But, yeah, man, it used to be fun, man. It used to, like, and now it seems like he's, I don't know, man, like mentally breaking or something.
Right. And you just want him to make it out okay. Like, and I'm not, that sounds weird and cliche. Like, and I don't say make it out okay because the guy is going to be fine. Financially, the guy is set, barring him doing something absolutely ridiculous.
You know, Conor's sitting back going, man, I wish I had the life of John Morgan and Cold Coffee, man. You know what I mean? Those guys got it.
But it's like he lived the dream. He did something that, made practically everybody envious on this meteoric rise, and then no one wants to see the dream end. I don't want to see the fairy tale stop and become some bad nightmare at the end when everything crashes, because when you watch, you just like you always see these stories of these people that seem so successful and seem like everything should be in their right favor, and then there's these underlying things that eventually lead to, you see suicides. Like, one of my favorite human beings in all the world, Anthony Bourdain, I thought had the life, just being served him on a silver platter, everything he wanted, and even then wasn't happy, and something caused things to happen. When you see something like this with Conor, it's like the guy should have everything, but find some reason to self-destruct at these moments, and you just want to see that end before too much damage, because it's like, I like the happy ending. Right now you have the story, you have the happy ending, keep it, bro. Like, don't do something that at some point is just going to end the story, and then everybody's going to say, man, he could have been one of the greatest ever,
See, that's what I was actually thinking about this the other day. So let's say 20 years from now, I mean, God, hey, if everything works out, like, I'd still love to be covering this sport in 20 years, man. This is all I want to do in life. I love covering the sport. So 20 years from now,
I hope so. I'm getting too old to get another
start
damn
over.
Job.
So
going back to In-N-Out, but I hear the managers make all right money.
I'd love to be one of those, gray-haired old men that people are talking to. Hey, what was this like back in the day? But I was thinking about this. Conor McGregor fought in the UFC 11 times. That's all. He has 11 UFC fights. So 20 years from now, if we're talking about Conor McGregor, let's say he never fights again. Let's say he's done. He doesn't come back. He decides he's not. It sounds like he wants to come back based on the interview. It sounds like he was naming off names. He was admitting he doesn't have to be a main event. It sounds like he's getting that hunger back. But if for some reason he
doesn't have to be a main, where would he not be the fucking main event?
He'll be a main.
I mean, it'd be one thing if he came back and just got beat 2 more times. Then maybe he says, Dana, please, let me just be a co-main somewhere. But you can't not put Conor at top bill.
All right, but let's say he doesn't come. For whatever reason, let's say he doesn't fight anymore. 11 fights in the UFC. If we're talking about 20 years from now, are we talking about one of the greatest of all time? Or are we just talking about this amazing flash in the pan, once in a generation, I don't want to say one-hit wonder, but you know what I mean? Just like a meteoric rise, as you said. I mean, he accomplished so much in so little time. But, I mean, longevity of a career has to count. When you start talking about greatest of all time, longevity means something, right? I mean, these accomplishments,
right.
I mean, look at like a Michael Bisping. Not that I'm suggesting that people would call him the GOAT, but I mean, there's something to be said for just the length, the tenure of work that he put in there. Of course, the Cowboy Cerrones of the world, the Jim Millers of the world, these people that have these huge resumes. It's interesting because Conor has actually soared to heights higher than any of those names.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about career as a whole, do you respect more people that put it in for longer times or whatever? I don't know. I find it really interesting.
If you can give Ronda Rousey a Hall of Fame thing, I mean, I think Conor's already earned it.
True.
I mean, if he doesn't fight, just being the first champ, what he's been able to do and shape the game and how he's changed it, a lot of people credit Ronda with being like this pioneer of the women's sport. And yes, she was definitely one that brought it to the masses. Would I say that she is a pioneer as opposed to, say, like Gina Carano or Julie Kedzie and some of those? No, like that's a pioneer for me. Ronda just took it to a whole nother level, but she was able to make it in the Hall of Fame. So if Conor still never fought again, I still think he has done enough, especially with being the first champ and what he did to the sport, bringing it to the masses.
Absolutely.
To a whole nother level, that it's worthy. They'll find some reason to put him in there, but I think
it would be valid. It wouldn't just be a marketing thing.
Right. No, it would be valid. I mean, I think especially when you have the fact of
his impact on the sport has been
his impact on
so
the sport,
big.
The first champ. Now that's like a thing.
Yeah.
It's became a thing, and at one point
it
was unheard of.
Dana wouldn't allow
Dana
it.
would never allow somebody to fight for another belt outside of their belt, and
think about that.
Even watch how that's changed now, where with Conor it was like, okay, we're going to let you do the champ, but you got to give one up and defend the other. So it wasn't even – so even though he let him get the champ, I don't even think even Dana thought at the beginning we're going to have these people defending.
I agree.
And now if Amanda wants to defend it, Amanda can defend it. If DC wanted to defend it, DC could defend it.
Yep.
It's this
but
whole
Cejudo
thing.
better think about Benavidez.
But Cejudo better think about Benavidez.
If you're cringy, you don't get to do both unless you do them on my schedule.
So, I mean, and that is a credit to what Conor did for this sport. So you can never take that away. So, I mean, with that right there, and just outside of just, the amount of money that he helped probably bring to the sport, they could come up with a category about, the Hall of Fame for the all-time moneymaker or biggest selling pay-per-view or something. But the guy's worthy. So, yeah, I mean, even if he never fought again, and in 20 years they're still talking about it, I think maybe not in terms of maybe the greatest ever, but maybe one of the greatest showmen or greatest, whether it be the title, because you're right. I mean, we don't have the. You don't have the defenses, but you can't take away from the huge impact that he did towards the UFC, at least.
You could not retell the history of the UFC or retell the history of MMA and not have a chapter about Conor McGregor.
Right.
You couldn't.
Right.
It wouldn't be fair. But he doesn't have the 10-year accomplishment. So I don't. But listen, I do hope he comes back. And when he comes back, I don't know that he could get that boyish energy again or whatever. But I would love to see some positivity. I would love to see that passion, that love, because it's intoxicating, man. That passion is fun, man. And I'd love to see it back.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking about fights. I mean, he named a lot of names. I was kind of looking at names. I mean, we've talked about it all along, right? This next fight, the matchmaking is important, right? I mean.
Sure.
I know he'd fight Khabib again. Now Khabib's got to get through Poirier and all that.
Right.
Or maybe Khabib doesn't have to get through Poirier. Maybe if Khabib lost to Poirier for some reason, Conor would still want to face him just to get that that L back. But I don't like
either
that
one
matchup.
of those guys. I mean, if that did happen, I mean, just imagine. I could see him. Say Dustin pulls it out. I could easily see him, even though the Khabib would do more money.
Right.
He also has that win over Dustin, he could easily go back.
You don't want him to walk back into a title fight.
But no, but that's the thing. But he could easily say, "Hey, Dustin, you want a chance to get that win back? You know, you really want to be the whatever."
Yep.
And of course, Dustin's going to say, "Yes, let's do it." You know, I mean,
you've got you're right. You've got fights right there with Dustin. You got fights with Max,
Khabib. You got Tony.
I kind of like Iaquinta. Kind of like Al Iaquinta. Now, this is not the biggest money fight for the UFC. I don't think this would be as big as those fights we just talked about.
I mean, that's a huge A side over Al, who is a fan favorite, and those that love MMA, like if you are a diehard MMA, but like Al, just like I could say Al's name in my family. No clue at all.
And that's no disrespect to Al.
No, nothing at all. I think Al's
he's not mainstream.
That's it. That's a good way of putting it. So I mean, like that would almost. I could already hear Conor, if he wanted to shit talk that during the fight week, that would come out. But Al, I mean, it would be a great fight. But
that's what I'm saying, stylistically.
I think Conor wants two sides of the coin, though, when he wants to come in. Because I think he realizes that if he wants to come in, he doesn't want it to all just be him doing all the work of promoting this. He wants to have somebody equally that can do some work. Khabib does that. Diaz does that.
Yeah.
Dustin doesn't do that. I mean, Dustin is another one where I love Dustin. I could say to my family, they're not going to know who he is. Diehards know who he is. This fight with Khabib, if he could beat Khabib, that will put him on the map globally.
Yes.
I think the people that already know him. But if you go to Russia or anywhere overseas and say, who's the guy fighting Khabib? I bet they say, I don't know.
Yep.
An American's fighting him. You know, but this is the one that I think would make, if he beats Khabib, this will be the first step in making Dustin a global star.
Massive.
It would be huge.
Cowboy would be a good fight as well. Cowboy,
just because Cowboy, like, my family knows Cowboy.
Of course.
So, like, that is a good one.
The only one I don't want to see, the only fight, this is funny, the only fight I don't want to see is I don't want to see Tony Ferguson. I know that sounds weird. Away. I just don't think Tony Ferguson should have to fight again. I think it would be wrong to make Tony Ferguson fight to make him fight Conor. I think Tony Ferguson deserves the next title shot.
That'd be huge money, though. I bet if you offered Tony that, knowing that would be a main event on a pay-per-view, getting points.
If he gets points, if he gets points.
I don't see why he would ever want to turn that down.
If he gets
points.
Because
that would be bigger than him just going and
that's fair.
I think taking on.
I'll make a caveat. If El Kakui gets points, then I'm in. I just feel like he's done enough, man. Like
he's definitely done enough. He's definitely done enough. But I think he also knows that he wants to provide for his family long term, and like that kind of fight, that's life changing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably easily with points is easily a difference of like $1 million. Probably.
Oh, for sure.
You know, maybe that's lowballing. I'm just throwing out the first big number,
agree.
But that's got to be probably at least $1 million difference than just picking up a regular title fight against. You know, whoever. You know.
Well, I hope Conor is back. And I hope he's back 100%. All right, let's talk about it. Let's shift directions entirely. But another kind of crazy story from this past week was BJ Penn.
Oh man.
Another street fight. I don't even know where to go with this because we have to talk about it. BJ Penn. The thing that really, I guess I'm feeling right now is that I feel bad, man. I feel bad. You know, it's a pattern of behavior, and none of us are perfect, man. But and you know, there's people saying that his supporters are coming out saying that it was he was kind of instigated. It wasn't him that was starting it and all that. And it's like, okay, cool, but dude, I mean, I'm 41 years old. I think BJ is 40 at this point. I think we're right around the same age. Do you know what it would take for me to get in a bar fight, man? I mean, like. Too old to be in bars fighting, man. It's just sad, man, and I hate to see it. And I don't know where to go with it. You know, Dave Doyle came out and wrote a pretty strong opinion piece. You know, he's been writing some columns lately, which is cool to see. You know, he's letting his opinion be known. And you know, he said, listen, it's time for the UFC to cut this guy, man. They got to cut ties with him. They got to get rid of him. And I get it, man. I do understand that. But I'm kind of torn on the subject, man, because I feel like right now BJ doesn't need an organization to turn their back on him. I feel like BJ needs help. Yeah. I feel like he needs support, man. And I don't know what the right situation is. Because I see people like, listen, the dude has lost 7 fights in a row. That is unprecedented, especially for a UFC Hall of Famer. 7 fights in a row is incredible. But I will say this, and I know this, I'm not trying to make excuses or I'm not trying to justify or anything like that. I will say this. He has lost 7 in a row. If you're looking at a silver lining, I guess, or a bright side, they have been spaced out over the course of 8 years. It's not like he suffered 7 knockouts in a row, and it's not like he's suffered 7 losses in a row over the course of 2 years, you know what I mean, where there's just repeated brain trauma over and over and over immediately. I mean, he's had space in between these fights. So, I mean, there are, I don't know, I guess there's like some silver linings or whatever to the reason they were willing to give him another fight. And to be honest with you, I didn't hate the way he looked in his last fight, and that's what I think should be the judgment. Do I really, am I excited about seeing BJ Penn fight? No, I'm not, but I understand why he wanted to fight, and I was okay with this other fight because I didn't think he looked awful where I was just absolutely scared for him last time out. And if we're being honest, I mean, Nick Lentz is a dangerous, tough fighter, but he's not the kind of guy that's going to come out and concuss you in 30 seconds. You know what I mean? That's not what you're worried about. So I was okay with this fight, and I think I'm still okay with the fight. I just and so I see, Dave Doyle's coming out and saying, you got to get rid of him. You got to get rid of him. And I do understand that perspective because it is a little bit embarrassing, but I just think more than anything, man, BJ needs help, man. It's troubling behavior, man.
Yeah. I'm with you. I definitely lean more on that side. I mean, again, it does boil down to a bar fight, a drunken bar fight. Shit happens. Does that mean I think he should lose his ability to make a living? Not so much.
Right.
But I think there are definitely things out there that a fighter could do that I think that the UFC should cut ties. If you're starting to, heaven forbid, if there's, sexual harassment sort of stuff, if there's, if there was ever like a rape case, if there's some fucking pedophile or whatever, like the major taboos, like you do stupid shit like that, the UFC needs to cut ties. I mean, don't just say, all right, well, we're going to take his fight away and we're going to send him away to a clinic. I mean, that might work for some things, but
Right.
for major ones out there, at that point, it's better for your organization to just cut the ties and run away as fast as possible. But for a guy like this that clearly just seems to have something nagging at him, he's something is going on that causes these fights to come out, and like the guy said, I don't want to, in between fights, if I'm not busy, this sort of stuff happens, that's obviously some sort of I don't know, some sort of a mental, I don't want to say problem because I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't know what's going on, but if somebody lashes out with anger, maybe it's just an anger issue, and they need to do something else. And but I don't think it's enough to say, all right, well, this is the second drunken bar fight the guy's got in. I don't want him to make a living anymore. Like that,
Yeah.
That doesn't do it for me. But that is the kind of thing where, if there are anger management things, that's the kind of thing where, as an organization, can be like, we love you. You've done shit for us. What do you need from us to get you help? Do you need something? I mean, outside of just like a fight every other weekend to keep him busy.
Counseling,
things like that.
Medical treatment, maybe.
Things that I think that like an organization like the NFL or some of these other ones would have. They have drug rehabilitation programs for guys that fall out of line in the NFL and the other ones. I don't see why they can't do something along those lines for some of these guys that are obviously struggling with some sort of issue. But just because, and I'm not calling this per se, but just because a guy does dirtbag things doesn't mean a guy needs to immediately, our first response, be like, all right, well, let's make it so he can't provide for his family.
Right.
I
think
let's see if we can help the guy.
Man.
I mean, when you think about it, that's what the whole like prison system was supposed to reform people. It's not like, hey, I'm gonna write you off and you're dead to me. They were supposed to help fix people and give an opportunity for people to reflect upon these decisions and change their life for the better. So, but those discussions need to happen. A discussion needs to happen, not just, hey, BJ, make sure you show up, before the fight camp, on this date and wait.
Yeah.
Have a discussion outside of just this fight that's coming up to really talk about life issues, stuff that's going on. I don't think the UFC does a great job of really just checking in on their fighter to see where they're at. If it's not a fight week, if it's not something, there's just too many damn people. I mean, even if that was a part of their job function, for some person to be like, hey, let's just check on the fighters. Let's see how they're doing. There's just too many people. So unfortunately, you never catch these stuff in advance. They only catch it after it's already blown up and something's happened.
And the thing is too, I mean, and you touched on it there when you say like them not being able to make a living. I mean, it's easy to say, we got to get BJ out of the sport, man. He shouldn't fight anymore. Like, what other skills does BJ Penn? And I'm not saying BJ Penn specifically. I'm not like picking on him, but I mean, we talk about the amount of dedication it takes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you give your life to this sport, man. I mean, you dedicate everything.
And that's any professional athlete that reaches that level.
What other skills do you have?
Yeah, I mean,
there's only so many broadcasting jobs.
And that goes to NFL players. That goes to NBA players. That goes to soccer players. I mean, they have a very unique set of skills that they have honed over a lifetime. And it's hard to really brush up on your business management skills if you're spending 40 hours of the week in a gym training. So I get it, but that's the sort of stuff that you got to help them. Somebody's got to help them. I mean, like, even out when you're trying to find a job, there's career fairs, there's workshops that you can go to. Why can't the UFC do stuff periodically just to help check on fighters? They used to do the Fighter Summit, stuff like that, where they could talk about little things, and I think that's kind of fallen off over the years. But why not do every other month, do like a mental health checkup sort of thing where people can go and get together. They have counselors there where they could talk about issues. They have financial people to make sure that they're taking care of their money right. And that was part of what this thing did, but it never addresses the negative side of life that no one wants to talk about, the not pretty things,
right.
Like, the mental health.
Yep.
All this, drug abuse, things of that sort. If they're only caring of whether you're not using drugs in competition and not caring about when you're outside of competition, then they're leaving part of it on the table. If they're not checking in to make sure, I mean, this is a very high stressful position that these guys are doing. So, I mean, there should be somebody that's checking up to make sure, are you good? Any high stress job out there are people that check on those people. If you're in the military and you're one of your jobs, if you're a guy that has to, be out in the jungle or doing shit, there's people that you can go back and talk to just to make sure your head's good, after the fact. Why are they not doing that to make sure that these guys are doing well? It's always after the fact. It's always after something happens. Then they're like, oh, okay, he should get some help. It's like, well, why aren't you proactive and really just checking on your
That's what I
shit?
think, man. I think that the concept of like, man, we got to get rid of him. To me, that's the lazy way out, man, and that's the least caring way out. I mean, I can't imagine if I was. I mean, this is problematic, man. It's problematic, and like
especially
you said,
somebody like BJ who's done so much for the sport.
Yes,
like, they should be bending over backwards to get him the help that he needs.
So to just roll in, like, can you imagine somebody rolling in and be like, dude, hey, it's clear to us that you have a problem, Cold Coffee, but you shouldn't be video editing anymore, or you shouldn't do video production anymore. You should be doing something different. Like, what? Like, I mean, I know it's a silly comparison, but I do, man. I don't think the UFC should cut ties. If anything, I think this would be a stellar opportunity for the UFC to try to step in and show that they have some compassion, show that they care about the health and well-being. And yes, I mean, I get it. Like, oh, man,
Tony Ferguson would have been a good opportunity to do that as well. And they could. There's a lot of instances out there, I think, where they could be better in stepping up and being proactive instead of just sugarcoating what they can for the moment. Like, as much as even when Tony was going out and was dealing with some stuff, all they were saying were like, we're just going to make sure that he passes all of his tests and that he's good to go before his next fight, or if he's good to go, and that's it. That was a perfect opportunity, should they have had things set up to talk about hard issues that happen out there. You see things out there and you see suicides and other shit, and everybody's like chooses that one moment to say, okay, hey guys, if there's issues, say something.
Yeah.
If you see something. And then, hey, I'm done. I don't need to think about it again for a little bit. It's like, how about being proactive? Set up those mechanisms to check on fighters and make sure what's going on. And then once that gets rolling, I bet we would probably see a lot less of these just flash in the pan moments, because there's something there where if a fighter is feeling frustrated or needs help, there's somewhere to go to. And I think a lot of them feel like it's them on their own, and it really kind of is. I mean, it's like that for all of us. I think in any of our careers, in any of our whatever, a lot of it, unfortunately, it's on us to do it. But it'd be nice of an organization that knows that their lifeblood is the fighters, to really make sure that the fighters are good. I mean, it's not like, working for Gannett, I mean, there's 5,000, 10,000, whatever.
I think it's like 30,000.
Yeah. Even they try to go and they have fucking stuff set up to try to assess and do mental health checks and do all this other shit. They can reach out. So if an organization that's 30,000 employees can say, hey, if you're having issues, go here, do whatever. How many fucking people are on the roster, you think?
600.
Total.
Yeah.
And you can't fucking set something up to really help people if they're having issues? Shame on you.
I dig it, man.
Yeah.
I just wrap that up by saying I hate seeing this for BJ Penn. And again, to me, it doesn't matter who started the fight or whatever. I don't understand why that even matters. What matters to me is his behavioral pattern is problematic, and I feel bad for him. But I want to say, I don't think that automatically means the UFC should cut ties, man. If anything, I think this should be a moment where they can say, this is one of our own, dude. This is one of our long time. We got to do something right.
Got to figure out what's going on. Outside of just saying we're going to give him one last fight. Then what? That means you don't have to think about him anymore?
Exactly. Well, we gave him the one last fight, so now we're done.
That sucks.
All right, in a completely impossible transition, let's talk about anything else outside of BJ Penn, because I'll just get depressed.
Oh, that's heavy. That is heavy shit.
It is heavy.
That's life. That's the life shit that we don't ever want to think about. We just want this to be fun and get good fights and good finishes. But then when you think about life shit, you're like, ugh.
It's real. It is weird, right? That, like, I mean, if you think about it, like, what do we love, man? We love the big knockout. But then at the same time, then we try to sit back and be like, I don't want to see him take any more head trauma. Like, somebody has to take head trauma. Like, that's, we were talking about the best knockout of the night. We're talking about, the knockout of the month that we're voting for or whatever on MMA Junkie. But then we're going to sit back and be like, I just don't believe that BJ Penn should take any more head trauma. Like, what? The entire thing is trauma,
Because we're savages.
Oh, it's awful. All right, Contender Series wrapped up. Man, it's crazy. Our weeks our schedule's going to change. The last 10 weeks, hopefully people got a chance to check out the pre-shows, man. I think by the end of that,
it was fun. It was good.
It was fun. It was kind of an experiment. We didn't try to push it hardcore because we were, hell, you were running a live television production by yourself. Myself and Dan Tom had never really done a lot of live stuff together, but we were doing it live and having fun. I thought Dan did a great job, man.
He did great.
He did really good. I could really see him kind of gaining comfort as
that's
time.
It. You saw the growth from the beginning to the end, and it's funny on that last day, when you got the UFC's executive president of production comes in. He's like, "Oh, you guys are doing a live show, huh?" Yeah. We're like, "Yep, we are.
We are right now." He's like, "Oh, you're actually live right now. Sorry." Yeah, it was good, but it was fun, man. So hopefully everybody enjoyed it. But all right, I want to talk about, because it's in the books. It's 10. Couple things. Originally, we know it was supposed to be 8 episodes. They ended up going to 10 episodes. I think leaving it back at 8 would have been good. I think cutting 20 fighters out of the talent pool would have been good, man. I think we would have ended up with better. And I don't want to insult the talent pool that we saw, but I feel like it was a little bit different this year as far as what we had. And I do say, maybe part of it was the fact we didn't have the real big names this year. There were none of the real highly anticipated ones, right? There was no Greg Hardy, Nick Newell, Antonina Shevchenko. Those ones where everybody latched on to ahead of time. We didn't have one of those this year, kind of the anchor of the season or whatever. So I think that might have been part of the reason it felt a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But I do feel like maybe there were a little bit too many episodes, so there's too many. And I will say, and I am. It's funny because Dana's a fight junkie, and I am too. So when he says he could do that every Tuesday night, he means it. Yeah. And I could too, man. To just go check out 5 fights every Tuesday night, hell yeah, I could do it. But I agree. After seeing the season, I agree with what the matchmakers have been saying behind the scenes. Now, they're not allowed to comment on record, but behind the scenes, they have been saying, listen, 1 season a year is enough, right?
Yeah.
But here's what I'm thinking.
How many did they do last season? Or last year?
I think it's only been 1 per calendar year, right?
No, but last year, how many fights?
8.
It was
been
8.
Yeah,
so this
8.
is the first one.
Yeah, this first one that went 10. I think the extra 2. Spread it out a little too thin. And here's what I want to say. So here's what I'm thinking, because I do agree that 8 episodes is about right, 1 season a year. But what I was saying is, how about like mini seasons and split them apart? Do like 2 4-week runs at different times of the year. Because here's the other thing. I think it would work out better because right now you think about it, they ended up giving away 30 contracts, right? That's 30 fighters right now that you got to get fights.
Right.
I think you'd be better off if you split it up a little bit. And let's say you ended up with like, you signed 10 to 12 new fighters in the spring, 10 to 12 new fighters in the fall. Then you're not feeling that pressure of like, holy shit, I got 30 guys I got to get fights for.
Yeah.
And it's not an 8-week run. I guess, and I'm not a TV guy, so I guess the only thing would be like, is 4 weeks enough time to get momentum going or whatever to get the message out? So that might be the only drawback. But I was thinking maybe like 4 in the spring, 4 in the fall, or something like that.
Because I can see where outside of a platform like ESPN Plus or something, if you're actually trying to get it on a broadcast, it's weird because it's not like they just have a random 4-week block that they could just queue up for this.
True.
There's a set, usually like a season amount of time where they want to plug it in and they know, okay, here's 8 weeks or whatever that we're good.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's a lesser amount, then they're like, okay, now we need to typically come up with something else small to fill the other rest of the time.
That's true.
So I could see where something like, but if you're on a platform like ESPN Plus where it lives on the web, it doesn't matter. That's easy peasy, because there's no set real season or whatever. I mean, like you just got to fucking broadcast it,
Yep.
and they can tune in on the web. But I could definitely see where that if they wanted to take it to a TV and have it on the broadcast channel, then it might be a little bit more problematic because somebody would have to try to work it out with other stuff. But
trying to fit in a mini series or whatever is kind
of
tough.
But I mean, it just felt like that last year. There was just so many nights where there was always like a good fight, to where it didn't feel like it ever sort of dragged. And I felt like there was a couple weeks, this one, where it just felt like it dragged a little bit.
All right, so here's what I want to throw in on that. I will not talk trash about the UFC Apex. It is an incredible facility, and they're going to do amazing things out there. And of course, they're relaunching Fight Pass in October. They're going to launch Zuffa Boxing. That facility is going to make them a ton of money, and there's going to be a ton of stuff.
Especially when others start using it.
Absolutely, but I will say, the atmosphere of it versus the atmosphere of the old gym, it's a little different. I'm going to say it. I loved the air conditioning.
Yep.
I loved the more comfortable seating. I loved the space that we had to do a pre-show. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to talk bad about the facility. It's an incredible facility. There was something cool, and not just about the nostalgia of the Tough Gym, like, oh, we've seen it for years. There was just something kind of cool and raw about it. You know what I mean? You were in this gym.
Definitely the raw thing.
Yeah.
But I think also, too, it's hard to discount the history. Everybody that went to watch a fight there had seen it before. I think it's just too new. It's just too something. But I think even next year when they go in there again, they're going to be more familiar with it.
I hadn't thought about that because people used to walk in the Tough Gym and be like, oh, man, I'm in the Tough Gym.
Yeah.
Here they walk in, they're like, I'm on my best behavior because this is the brand new UFC Apex facility.
I mean, it is super, super nice. So I think that'll come. I think that's going to come. I just think it, as more people see it, as they grow to appreciate it and see it on TV, then they're going to have that moment of like, holy shit, I'm in that place I've been watching on TV.
Yep.
And then they're going to embrace it a little bit. But I think it's coming. But yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic facility. I mean, it looks really, really cool. But I think, it looks too new and it smells too clean to have that raw feel to where people might be like, fuck, I can, you go to the old Tough Gym and it smells like blood, sweat, and tears in there. I mean, there's something super raw about it. But, I mean, it does boil down to every time you walk in there, you think of everything that's happened before that moment, and it just makes it that much cooler. And I think the Apex will get there.
I agree.
It's just not there yet.
I agree. It's going to get there. I think that impacted the way this felt. Last thing about contenders, I had a lot of people hit me up, and I think this is a very fair question, especially the way the season ended. A lot of people hit me up because Dana said it a couple times along the way, and I think the perfect example was Impa Kasangane in the final episode where fans are saying, why in the hell are they bringing people on that they think are too raw to get in there? And I do think that's a fair question because Impa Kasangane, to me, I mean, we did the pre-show, and I said it, we're talking to Dan Tom. I'm so excited about this fight because Kalen Hill, we knew him. He was this highlight reel. He'd been on SportsCenter 3 times already in his career for highlight reel knockouts. But Kasangane, turned pro in January, and he was already 5-0. And then he comes in, Kasangane turns in this dominant performance, and the most amazing thing to me was the way he was acting in between rounds. I mean, just his demeanor, like how calm and relaxed he was, smiling, But you could see, to only be a pro for 9 months, or 8 months even, you could see like some of the things he was doing in his game where you're like, my God, this dude is an absolute natural. Some of the intelligent moves and decisions that he was making in his fight game were incredible. And and I thought at the least he's going to get a developmental deal. They didn't do that. And Dana said, listen, I love the kid. He's going to go fight 5 more times, and he'll be back in the UFC. We'll see him soon. And I mean, that's a fine attitude. There's nothing wrong with that. But it does beg the question, why the hell do you even bother them being here if they don't have a chance? Now, I have answered the question. I do believe this to be true. Say Impa Kasangane had gone out there and thrown a Masvidal flying knee or done something like that where you're like, oh my God, then I think they would have signed him. So I don't think anybody is coming onto the show with no chance. I don't believe they're bringing anybody with no chance. But it does make you wonder where the bar is set because that was a phenomenal performance by Kasangane. He looks like he is going to be a stud in the future, and they passed on him anyway. And it does make you wonder why bring these guys in. And I guess probably it just goes back to answering the thing we started talking about. The talent pool is just a little too thin. But it is weird, right? I mean, if you're bringing people in and saying, yeah, I like him, but he's too raw, then what the hell was he doing here?
That's clearly the point. I mean, because when you think of it like that, it's all a bit silly. I mean, yes, you're giving him an opportunity to fight. You're going to give him some money, but if you know that if the guy doesn't give you, like you said, that crazy finish, but if you know in your head, like, oh, you still probably think he's too green, why waste the opportunity unless you couldn't find anybody else to fill it? You would think that everybody, if they're coming on that show, has the equal opportunity to get a contract should they get the win. And if it's an exciting win, if somebody's going out there and it's just a ho-hum victory, but they get it, maybe it's not going to carry as much weight as a guy that goes out there and gets that nice finish. But you figure everybody going into it, if they're coming on that show, should have the equal opportunity to get a contract. And from hearing him say that, it made it sound like, no, he didn't have an equal opportunity. The only way I would have given it is, like you said, probably if he would have got a crazy finish, then he would have been like, I'd be too stupid to pass on this guy. You see how exciting he was? But it was a great performance.
He said it a couple times this year with guys where he's like, dude, if I put them in right now, they'd get murdered. And that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. But then what the hell are we doing?
Why are we
doing it? Because, I mean, if let's say Impa Kasangane had won and you're just like, listen, man, I like the kid, but I wasn't impressed by that performance. But nobody could watch that fight and not be impressed by that performance.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know.
And maybe that's the kind of thing that, that'd be the feedback they can maybe give Dana is like, maybe don't say it like this next time. Maybe don't say it like you're thinking that he's too green to get it. Because then it makes it look like the matchmakers couldn't find anybody.
Right.
But Dana was quick to say, it's hard to kind of, the bathtub's not full anymore, or I forget what the fuck his phrase was, but like.
He used the pond. Which I think was him trying to remember the word talent pool.
Talent pool.
He was like, I know it's a body of water. I just can't remember. As you just went with bathtub.
Bathtub's only a quarter full, because then it makes it seem silly, like they struggle to find guys. I think if they probably would put a different spin on it, then we wouldn't be discussing, well, why is a guy, why are you bringing somebody on if they're not going to get a contract? But you're right. But yeah, it seems a bit silly. But I thought the guy was a stud, but Dana's right. I mean, he'll either be there back soon, or somebody's going to get a fighter that's going to be very, very exciting.
On Bellator,
really quick.
I'd snatch that kid up in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean, because it's the same thing. Like, he's like another African like Francis Ngannou that a lot of people are like, guys just got pure raw talent, but it looks like he's literally still developing right in front of their eyes. This is another kid that has explosive power that is literally developing right in front of your face. But it's like to me, I mean, I thought he carried himself well. He looks fantastic, and he fights like a beast. Fucking get him before somebody else does,
I agree.
Because you're gonna need somebody like. It's so funny when we're seeing people even that don't get contracts but make it on the show are getting fights. So why not just say fuck it and just say yeah? I mean, unless that's part of it, unless they already plan on that, they probably will give him a fight, but they just don't want to give out and just immediately say, hey, we're gonna go on the line and give you a contract.
Right.
Because there's nothing that's saying that they won't give these guys fights, because we're already seeing people that make it on the show that don't get contracts are getting fights. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him like in 6 months
I think we will.
on some random card
for
the UFC.
Man. I'm impressed. I think we will. All right, something else we're going to see. One championship making big moves, man. They're going to be in the U.S., man. They're going to bring a live event to the U.S. pretty soon. They're going to have their first live broadcast here in the United States in October. One Championship 100. I'll get to that in a second. One Championship 100 Century. 2 cards on one day. It's actually going to be on 2 days in the U.S., just the way the time change works. But one of them will be the first live broadcast in the United States for One Championship. So they're making big moves. Like I said, I know that next year it sounds like they're going to try to have a live event here in the United States as well. So One Championship, if you haven't been paying attention, you might have to start doing so now. I had a chance to speak with Demetrious Johnson, who made it to the finals of the flyweight tournament, and is going to be competing on that card, and had a chance to catch up with him by phone. It's been a while since I spoke to Mighty Mouse. I don't think we had talked since he left the UFC, so it was good to catch up with him, and I figured I'd share that with everybody here. So here is my conversation with Demetrious Johnson.
Yo.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Nothing. Beautiful day in Washington State. How about you?
Oh, just hanging out, man. Sorry about that. I was having a little issue with my Bluetooth there for my recorder, man. Awesome, man. All right, well, let's just get into it then, man. I mean, here you are, 2 fights into this, new chapter of your career, this one era. Let me know how you're feeling about it. I mean, it's been a big change. So, what's your thoughts on it?
So far, I think it's fantastic. Traveling over to Asia to be able to compete in Manila and Japan, and be able to compete in front of, the Asian crowd. I've been loving every bit of it. Enjoying the process of getting ready, going over to, Manila went over the 13 days or 14 days before the fight. Japan went 10 days. This time we're going to go 10 days again. So just enjoying the process.
What's been the best part of it for you, Demetrious? Because I know that, you had gotten kind of tired of the way fights were promoted and the things that had to be said, I guess, to try to hype up fights. I mean, is that the best part of it, or is it, the new scene? I mean, I know you're about the belt collecting around the world. You mentioned how you want to do that. I mean, so what's the best part of it for you?
Oh, man, I can't just pinpoint one thing. If I had to, I just can't. It's a little bit of everything. Like, just being able to know who you're going to be fighting next. Obviously, I'm in a tournament format, but like I said, I don't have to promote. I don't have to hype the fight up. I will promote it. As the fight gets closer, with social media and all that stuff and training. But as far as lines of, you don't have to hear about the pay-per-view numbers and all that stuff. It's also awesome to be on a card where it's just not mixed martial arts. It's also kickboxing and Muay Thai. That's always fun to watch when you're in the back room, getting ready. And, just to be in a whole different chapter, different rules, different weight cutting, just the whole 9 yards, being 32 years old, not focusing on trying to cut down to 125, fight at my natural weight. It's all fun.
Yeah, you touched on that weight cutting, man. I wanted to ask you about that. The whole system. What's your take on it? Because I will say, I think they're trying to do a good job of educating people and being a little more transparent with everything. But I gotta say, man, the 2 guys you fought so far have looked big, man.
It's just the size difference, right? They're definitely taller. Yuya Wakamatsu and Wada were both taller. But when it comes to, actual weight, I weighed more than Wakamatsu after the fight. And then I think Wada, I don't know what the weight was afterwards.
Wow.
But they're just taller. So, Wada was like 5'5", 5'6", I'm 5'3". I'm just a small, dense dude. That's just how it is.
Yeah, no question. So the thing is, you can weigh up to, 134, right? But you have to be at the hydration. That's how it works, that your body shows that you're not dehydrated?
Yeah, so basically how it goes is my weight limit is 135, which is the flyweight division of the men's. And you have to weigh in 2 times during the week, which is we fight on Saturday, You weigh in Thursday and Friday, and then fight Saturday. And when you do your weigh-in, you come in, and this is when you do your drug test as well. You go in there, you give a urine sample, and they test the urine. They check the gravity of the urine. So it can't be over 0.250, and it can't be below 0.15. I don't know what the gravity is for the lowest, where it's just pure water. That means you're overly hydrated, and that's not good. They don't like that. They want to make sure you're just hydrated. So you check your hydration first. If you pass hydration, then you're able to jump on the scale, and then they read out your weight. If you pass both those, then you pass your weight cut. Not weight cut. You pass weight. You made weight, and then you have to do it again the following day at the exact same time. And then at that time, that's when they do the drug test. They take that, send it off to the labs, the WADA lab, which is the exact same lab that USADA uses, and then that's how the weight protocol goes.
What do you think, man? I mean, obviously you've seen it the other way, and you know how people feel about weight cutting here in the U.S., man. It's dangerous, and we're putting people at risk. I mean, do you think this is a potential way that it could be fixed? I mean, should U.S. athletic commissions be considering this?
I think so. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all predicated on what you want to do. Like, I love it because when I fight at 135, this is my third fight in a year. At 33 years old, I think that's pretty impressive in my own book. And I think when I was cutting at 125, I was doing so much trauma on my body just trying to make that weight and blow back up to like 141, in one day. So with me staying closer to my natural weight, which is 135, and then fighting there, I don't have as much trauma on my body, my liver, my kidneys, all that stuff. It's just throwing my bounce right back. And I think at the end of the day in America, I don't know what the commission, what they're waiting on. So I think One Champion's doing it right. They got it. Everybody makes weight. There's nobody when it comes to fighting or an event coming up. Everybody shouldn't be so focused on who's going to miss weight, who's going to miss weight, who's going to make weight. I think that's become, I don't know. I'd be surprised if Vegas doesn't have lines on those or, bets on those. Like, oh, is this guy going to miss weight? He's going to be under 5 or 4, just because everybody's so fixated on making weight to where here in Asia, it's like, make sure you're hydrated, make sure you fight your natural weight, and that's it. And even One Championship, like when you come over, when they sign guys, they're like, this is what you're fighting at. Like, you're fighting at this weight class, and we know you can't make it, or you can try to make it. So, but I like it.
I dig it. Well, it sounds like you're pretty happy overall. Have there been any things along the way that you've seen like, oh man, I wish they would change this, or I didn't think that I was going to be signed up for this. I mean, have there been any negatives or downsides of leaving the UFC?
No, not at all. I've been completely happy. Everything's been fantastic. I love the traveling. I love to be able to go over there and meet the other athletes around the world. So nothing at all. I mean, we got One Esports coming up in Japan right before the One Century show. I'm excited about that. I'm also going to be going out to Las Vegas here pretty soon, September 10th to 11th, to do a web seminar or summit for esports. So I'm happy, man. I'm staying busy.
That's awesome, man. Good for you. Well, you got another tough fight coming up next, right? Like you said, you made it to the tournament finals. Give me your thoughts. I mean, your initial thoughts on the matchup and kind of how you feel you pair up.
Danny Kingdad, he's a phenomenal athlete. Definitely a young phenom out of Manila, out of the Team Mackay boys. He's already fought for the belt once against Adrian Marias. Came up short, so I'm looking forward to it. I mean, he's young, he's athletic, super athletic, very, very explosive, and I'm just gonna go out there and take it to him, like I've always said.
What's it like for you breaking down opponents now, Demetrious? Because, I mean, I imagine in the past, sure, you're watching tape or whatever, but, I mean, you're familiar with everybody, right? So I wonder now, is it harder to prepare for these guys? And I'm guessing you haven't seen fight a whole lot, or is it almost more exciting to have, like, these new riddles to figure out? What's the process like?
Well, the process is a little more difficult just because I don't have Matt in my corner. So I have to basically get all the knowledge I need from Matt up till lead up to the fight. I mean, those 15 minutes when he's in the corner are very crucial because he knows how to get me going. He's the only one who knows how to get me going in the right direction. So we broke down my last fight. We sat down, we watched it, and there's things he pointed out to me that I was like, damn, I never thought about that. And he goes, you just got to get in the mindset now where you have to figure out what your opponent's trying to do to you in the middle of the fight, what they're trying to keep you from doing. So that's a shift in my training now that I have to focus on. So, breaking down Danny King, we're going to be breaking him down and we're going to be just seeing the things that he does very well, and then I have to adjust on the fly. Usually I do it when I'm fighting because Matt's calling out, like, get heavy, settle down, and I do it when I fought in North America, but I don't have that luxury anymore. So that's the hardest thing. But other than that, I mean, every athlete's different, especially, when I'm fighting guys over in Asia and One Championship. I feel they're more experienced because they've been fighting for a long time. Those guys go through Shuto, and Shuto's no joke.
Right.
You have, Danny King, that he's a Wushu champion. So these guys have been champions before they got to the big leagues, where I felt like in North America, there's good feeder shows like LFA, Access, all those smaller shows. I mean, some of them come and go all the time,
yeah.
But I don't think they have the same talent pool as Shuto or Pancrase or Deep, those divisions in Japan.
Yeah. So is that, you talk about not having Matt in your corner. Has that been a more difficult adjustment than you thought it would be? I mean, I hadn't really thought about how tough that might make it for you, but has that been a difficult adjustment?
It's not a difficult adjustment. It's just something I had to get used to.
Yeah.
Like when I was fighting as an amateur, the only time he was in my corner is when I was fighting on his promotions. Now that I'm a professional athlete and I'm at the pinnacle of the sport of mixed martial arts, and I'm fighting these high level guys, there's these things that you don't get, and those things. It's almost like Khabib Nurmagomedov not having his dad in his corner. He's about to fight Dustin Poirier, or Javier. He'll do well, but those are just key things, those minor key things that your head coach master can do it. But this is part of the journey. That me and Matt, we sat down and talked. Even Chachi talks about it. He goes, every single person is an athlete. You're gonna have their headmaster of the dojo in their corner, but now you're taking that leap of faith where you're gonna be doing it on your own, and your coach is right there watching you fight, and you can't say anything to him. So you got to figure it out. That's why my last fight, after I beat Wada, I wasn't having my performance. Like, I trained so hard, I expect more from myself. Like, I don't care what anybody in the world says, or the reporters, the fans, anybody. I hold myself to a higher standard than anybody does. And that's why I gave myself a thumbs down after that fight. And I was like, I was like, that's a shitty performance. Like, that's not what I expected. That's not what I envisioned happening going out there. I envisioned going out there and getting the finish, and I didn't get it. So I was disappointed.
Well, interesting. Give me an idea what this would mean to you, man. It's funny. I vividly remember you standing in Los Angeles and saying, man, I want to go collect belts from around the world. And I remember laughing at you and saying, "Come on, dog, that's not going to happen." And now here you and now here you are, on the verge of doing that. So I mean, I guess this is what you envisioned, right? Was starting to collect these belts from around the world. So I mean, what would this tournament win mean to you? You've accomplished so much in your career, but I mean, is this like a special moment to you?
I would say so. I mean, growing up watching a lot of Japanese mixed martial arts, and I remember watching Crow Cop, Fedor Emelianenko, those guys competing in the openweight Grand Prix, and I believe it was Pride, and Josh Barnett was in it too. And I remember those guys; they would be in the not the division, they would be in the organization, and all of a sudden, probably like, whoo! Stuff, and then at the end of the tournament they get a sweet belt, and it's almost like an accomplishment. So for me to be able to have the opportunity to be able to win a legit Grand Prix, I'm super stoked and excited about it, and to be able to add another belt to my collection, it's going to be awesome, because it's a belt that world titles, they come. Everybody gets a world title, but in order to get a Grand Prix, you got to enter one, and then you got to win 3 fights in a row, stay healthy. So it's a lot that goes into it, and you can get injured. You can win 2 fights and then get injured and not be able to go to the final. So it's a lot that goes into play. Or a cage, so it's always changing on you.
That's awesome, man. Well, that's good. Hey, quick question: do you still follow the UFC flyweight division at all? Are you watching Cejudo and the King of Cringe and everything that he's doing out there?
I see what Triple C is doing. It's funny. My buddy came over my house. He goes, "What what the hell is this man doing? I was like, what are you talking about? And he told me the intergender or whatever, and I just laughed. I think it's hilarious. And I'm happy for him. At the end of the day, he's doing what he wants to do, and he's creating a lot of buzz for himself and the division. And hey, man, you can't hate on him. He's trying to make moves and get paid.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Would you ever, if there was a way to get it back someday, somehow, whether it be a interpromotional fight or a one-off or something like that, is that something you think about, is getting that one back at all?
No, I don't think about getting the losses that I had back. That means I'll be thinking about my loss at Dominic Cruz in 2011, and then when I lost to Brad Pickett. Losses happen, and if I look at a loss as a setback or a bump in the road, then I'm not thinking positive. I have an end game goal, and I know my goal where I want to end up at the end of my career. And sometimes those losses they open a pathway to a different door, and this did. I was able to get out of North America, get over to Asia, and have my final career be in one championship. So if it happens, it happens, but I'm not worried about it.
Very cool, man. Understood. All right. Well, obviously, we still got a ways till the fight. I'm sure we'll talk again before then. But give me your early prediction, man. How do you think this goes? Do you get that finish that you've been wanting?
I tell everybody, since I've been amateur till now, I give myself a long night. Anything can happen. So I'm going out there prepared and just let them fight.
Awesome, brother. All right, man. Well, I appreciate the chance to catch up with you, man. Like I said, I'm sure we'll talk again before then. But I always appreciate the time, brother.
Thanks, John. Appreciate you.
Yep. Welcome back to the MMA Roadshow. That was Demetrious Johnson, former UFC flyweight champ, former pound-for-pound #1 in the world, and potentially a new one Grand Prix champion coming October. Listen, if you like what you're hearing, I should remind you, please do us a favor. Log into iTunes. Make sure that you are subscribed. Of course, that's important. You want to get us every week because we've been doing this for 231 consecutive weeks without fail. Also, if you can take the time to rate us, that would be awesome. Give us 5 stars if you can. I understand if you can't, but please do. It makes me feel better when you get 5 stars.
4.5.
Yeah, 4.5. You jackass. And also, leave us some feedback if you can. I love reading those, even when they are sharp-witted jabs at us. We appreciate that. All right, listen, Demetrious Johnson sounds happy, man. He really does sound happy. I hate seeing him gone, but it's clear that this is what he wanted, and this suits him. I think he paints kind of a rosy picture. I couldn't believe that he had no criticisms whatsoever of, his new home. Like, there wasn't anything that they're not doing right. There's nothing that they couldn't do a little bit better.
The bills.
Yeah, he knows how to handle it.
Right.
He knows how to handle it, but excited to see that, man. Listen, I do think one is doing some big things. If they can continue it, we'll see. But, just like PFL is making some waves. If one can do it as well, more opportunities for fighters is a good thing, man. More homes, more chances for fights is good. The UFC is not going to go away as the most powerful brand for a long time, at least as far as I can see. Things can always change, but, I don't see the winds of change are a-blowing right now. But, man, more opportunities for fighters to compete is good. So I'm excited about that. All right, let's talk about this weekend. It is UFC Shenzhen. UFC on ESPN Plus 15, Andrade versus Zhang. All right, listen, we'll just lay it out there up front. I understand if you're not going to get up and watch this card, all right? It kicks off at 3 a.m. Eastern. The main card is at 6 a.m. Eastern. I would assume that anybody that is listening to this show is probably a pretty hardcore fan. But if you're not hardcore enough to get up and watch this, I am okay. I am not going to pass judgment. I think that would be the
hardcore of hardcores.
I am not going to pass judgment on you. I get it.
If you're not getting paid to watch it.
That's it. That's it. I understand. Now, that said, I will be. So if you want to be up at that time, I'm going to be doing play-by-play. I volunteered to let everybody else sleep because I am that kind of ridiculous actual MMA junkie that I will be up watching anyway. So I volunteered to do play-by-play. Are you going to nap the day
before? Like, yes. How are you going to approach it? You're going to try to nap in the evening?
So here's what I did. We're sitting down on Thursday, as we always do, to record the show. I made sure to take Friday off. So I am off tomorrow, Friday. I made sure to take off because what I'm going to try to do is, and I was talking to my wife earlier, I'm going to sleep in as much as I can tomorrow. These frosty beverages are certainly assisting that process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sleep in as much as I can tomorrow while my kid's at school. After school is over, I'm going to take them to jiu-jitsu practice and, do family time, family dinner, all that. And then I'm going to try to go to bed probably around like 8 p.m. or so and catch a nap until midnight. So, you know what I mean? Get like a little 3 or 4 hour nap in there. Hopefully, that's the plan. That's the hope. And then bang
you
through
said
the card.
Midnight?
Well, midnight Pacific because it's 3 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, but which is midnight.
Right.
Our time. So you'd have to get up a little before midnight.
Wow, yeah, like 11:30. Take a quick shower, drink some coffee real quick, whatever. Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good idea.
So I'm gonna try to sleep as long as I can tonight/tomorrow morning, and then get a little nap in right before, and then bang it through. And then I'm actually off on Saturday as well. Or I shouldn't say I'm off. Once I get done with the card, I'm off, and then that's the rest of the crew will come on and take over like the post fight stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'll try to get some sleep again, and I'll leave for Abu Dhabi on Sunday. Me and my
broken
cracked ass computer.
What time does Eli go to bed?
It depends on the day, but usually around like.
That's still too. So if you got up at say 11, he'd already be in bed.
Oh yeah. He's in bed way before that.
Okay.
He's in bed around like 9 o'clock.
He's still young. I was going to say that you might get up in time to put him to bed.
Oh no! Hell no! He's 7. He's not up that late. What kind of parents are you? You can tell you had no kids.
I was up till late.
You can tell you had no kids.
I was up late. My dad, especially when he worked shifts and stuff. Shit, we were up whenever we could.
All right, so listen,
especially on the weekend.
Let's talk about this card. There's only 4 Americans on the card. So if you're kind of a U.S. centric person, only 4 Americans on the card. 9 fighters making their UFC debut. So there's going to be a lot of names here that you're not familiar with, and I get that. So that's why I said I understand if you're not one to watch, at least not watch live. But there are some things definitely to watch for here. And the main event is one that I'm really, really excited for. Jessica Andrade versus Weili Zhang. Strawweight title, of course, is on the line. Jessica Andrade, man, how amazing finish to take the belt last time out, incredible. But Weili Zhang is somebody that to me that she's only fought 3 times in the UFC, but right away, man, I see it. Like I believe that she has the ability to be a UFC champion. The thing that this reminds me of right now, and I almost hate to make this comparison because it's another Asian fighter. That's not what I'm saying. But it reminds me of Kyoji Horiguchi, where when I saw Horiguchi, right away I said, that is somebody that can be a future UFC champion, but they got rushed to a title shot. Now, again, that was against Demetrious Johnson, who's one of the all-time greats, as we said, former number 1 pound for pound in the world. This is a little bit different because I don't want to take away from Andrade. When she is on and the things that she does well, man, she is incredible. But, I think we all remember the devastating finish against Rose Namajunas, but she wasn't winning the fight at that point. I mean,
she was losing.
Not even close, right?
She was losing badly.
Yes.
In the stand-up game on that, and if it wasn't for that slam, she would have lost.
Yes.
And it came down. What was it like? Right before the end of the fight.
Second round. I mean, there was still
she was
time
losing.
to play, but she lost the opening round pretty badly. So
she was losing bad.
Yeah. So I like Zhang's opportunities here. Now I will say this. Weili would not get this title shot right now, more than likely, if this wasn't in China. Okay, so she is getting this opportunity. But if you haven't watched her fight and you're just saying, she has no chance, they're just giving her a chance because she's in China. No, she's definitely getting a chance because this card is in China. I mean, the UFC has made it clear they want to open up China. Every sports league does. Every let's be honest, every business, every industry wants to get inroads into China. Yao Ming meant incredible amounts of riches to the NBA, and that is what the UFC is hoping to do. That is why there's a Performance Institute in Shanghai. That is why they continue to come back with events here. But to pretend like she doesn't have the skills or the ability to win this fight, I think would be a huge oversight for anybody, thinking about either betting this card or thinking about watching this card. I think this is a very competitive fight.
I think so too. And looking at our stat picks, the readers actually agreed with us. 62% put Zhang Zhang.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I just looked at it for the very first time.
Wow.
So I actually picked her as well.
I did too, and I thought I was going to be one of the few because I thought everybody was riding high on Andrade.
Yeah, the readers, which good for you, readers. 66% overall record.
66%.
Well, no, 62% picked it.
Okay.
But the readers overall have a 66% success rate. So like our readers are pretty studly.
They are pretty smart.
So that makes me feel a little bit better because I think so as well. I mean, Andrade was, in my opinion, did not look that great in that last fight. But Rose makes people look not great.
True.
And Andrade she's like a fucking tank, man. She just walks through people.
Unbelievable.
But there was something humanizing about that last fight where I was like, wow, she's really getting pieced up. And I thought she sort of lost a step until I saw her pick up Rose and literally almost decapitate her. But this is one of those fights where Zhang has impressed me completely. And when you look at who she's beat, there's only that Danielle Taylor. I think people might go and say, oh, well, who has she fought? Danielle's extremely
I like Danielle
tough.
Taylor.
I know, she's extremely tough.
She's tiny.
And that was
if she was bigger, if Danielle Taylor was bigger, she would destroy people.
She would literally destroy people. But, I mean, when you look at Aguilar, Tisha Torres, I mean, those are studs. And she beat them. I mean, this is a tough person who I think right now is fighting probably some of the best fighting that she's done. I mean, granted, she's 30 years old, so I mean, she's no spring chicken.
Right.
But I think according to Dana, that's right in the prime. So
I think so. 28 to 32.
28 to 32, that's right around there.
That to me, I think that's that's athletic prime.
So this is a good time for her. And I mean, I don't know, and maybe I'm just homering because she is in her home country as well. So I think that always bodes well for a fighter, especially in a big moment. She's going to have a huge crowd behind her on this fight. And so
listen, Andrade had to travel to China. That
Right.
is a long flight, okay?
Right.
It is a long way to get there. I can tell you, I only got to go once. I went to the very first, the Shanghai event. That's the only one I got to go to. But I have been there. I can tell you the air quality sucks in China. Now, how much you think that factors in? Maybe not, but, people do talk about that when it comes to athletic performance.
Yeah, sure.
The air quality's bad. Now, it ain't exactly lovely in Brazil either, but it's really bad in China. But I will say, I mean, the food offerings, it is culturally incredibly different. So for Jessica Andrade, who, and I'm not trying to paint her as like, oh, she's just a simple little person or whatever, but like she even comes from like small town, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be culture shock. It's going to be nutrition shock. It's going to be, the time change. I mean, there is a lot going on there. There is a lot for Jessica to overcome, whereas, Wiley just has to turn around and be like, oh, short flight over here, and let's do this.
Yeah.
I do think that stuff matters.
It does. Well, at least, I mean, Jessica, in the case of the nutrition, she's probably going to be cutting most of the time there. So it would just be the fight night, the Friday night or whatever,
Right.
or the post weigh-in night where she'd be really trying to get some nutrition. She's probably going to, I would bring like a bunch of frozen acai or something.
Well, hey,
some other
I don't
stuff.
know if you can bring getting stuff into China.
That's
That's
true.
what I'm saying, man. There's so much to think about. And remember, now if this was a pay-per-view card or if this was an ESPN card, you'd have the UFC corporate chefs there, right? The trifecta people. They'd be cooking all your food.
Yeah.
Guess what? This
Not
is
going to be there?
Not going to be there.
Interesting.
So I mean, listen, and I'm not saying she's going to miss weight. By the way, they step on the scales in just a matter of not that long from when we're sitting down. So by the time most people hear this, the weigh-ins were done. I'm not trying to suggest that she won't make weight or anything like that. I'm just trying to say it's going to be different. Like you said, she's not going to have the foods that she's accustomed to.
I forgot about that. You can't really bring shit in there as well.
No.
But it should be a lot of fun, that fight. So I mean,
either way, it's going to be
Either
fun.
way, it's going to be a fun
fun
fight. Yeah, I mean, somebody's going to take some damage and somebody's going to give some damage.
The co-main event as well, Li Jingliang versus Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. Listen, two of the most under-the-radar, exciting, fun fighters that you possibly can. Now, it is funny because, right, I love both these guys. Neither one of them speak English, so we've never had, like, real one-on-one. I mean, they speak a little bit, but not enough to be, like, on record. But both these guys, I mean, Li Jingliang, if you're a long-time listener to the Roadshow, you know the Leech. Yeah. That dude, if you've ever watched it, I mean, he has the most infectious smile, like an attitude and everything. He is amazing, and he bangs, dude. When he goes into fight, he absolutely bangs. And fortunately, he did fight on that card, and I can tell you, man, the Chinese support there, it was amazing. It's an entirely different crowd than like a Japanese crowd.
Yeah.
You know, it's more akin to like a South Korean crowd where they're loud. They're, you know, it's not very quiet, respectful claps, whatever. I mean, they get into it, and the amount of support that Li Jingliang felt when he was fighting in Shanghai was amazing. So to see him back here is going to be great. And against Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, I want to hear what the picks were here as well, because I feel like, I mean, Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos is certainly much higher ranked. I think much higher respected. How high is it?
77%.
77%.
The readers took him 77%, and on our staff picks, it's only Matt Erickson went with Leach.
And I believe that, man. And even me. And listen, I'm a Leach homer.
Huge Leach fan.
I'm a Leach homer, dude. I love the Leach, but I do believe he does. I think he tends to brawl a little too much. I think he tends to rely on his chin a little too much. And Dos Santos is lethal, and I think will prove problematic here. So I'm picking Dos Santos. Now, it's interesting because Dos Santos, also a Brazilian, also facing a Chinese fighter, also going to have to deal with everything we just talked about, right? Also going to have to deal, with all the issues that we literally just talked about in the main event. But I do feel like he's a cut above, man. I feel like Dos Santos is flying under the radar. But to me, Jingliang is like almost a Cowboy Cerrone type fighter. You know what I mean? A guy that you just know, hey, he's on the card. I should watch it because the fight's going to be fun. So I believe the co-main event is going to be very exciting as well. And I'm not discounting the Leach, but I do like Dos Santos in this fight.
Yeah, I went with him as well. But you're right, man. Leach brings it. I mean, you know, at least with this fight, it's – and you know, a lot of times you say it, and I'm like, I don't want to jinx it. I want to jinx it. It can't be jinxed because both these guys like to go forward and like to throw down. I mean, and especially being in front of a Chinese crowd, I mean, Leach is going to make sure that that he brings it. And unfortunately, with that style, sometimes he just walks forward. And I think this is the kind of one, if he keeps going, barreling forward, just trying to impress the crowd, he's probably going to catch one. And that's probably what is going to happen.
Yep.
We've seen his chin get tested. He does have a good chin, but he does get dropped. And this is the kind of fight that if he's going to let the crowd get him and he's going to kind of lose his head a little bit and trying to go in there and get that moment, this fight could end really, really quickly. And I think that's probably what's going to happen, is that he's going to go in there trying to take out Zaleski dos Santos' head, and it's not going to work.
I agree. I think maybe like a second round finish or something like that.
Yeah,
but
it could be even sooner. First or second round, probably.
I think so. But I think these top two fights, I think they're solid. And let me just say, it was a late adjustment to the bout order, but it's funny because it was one of the fights I was most interested in, so I'm really happy the UFC put it here. Mark De La Rosa versus Kai Kara-France is a fantastic flyweight fight, and I'm a big fan of the flyweight division, and I'm a big fan of both these guys, and I love the fact that the UFC put this in kind of the third position here. So to me, like, I get it. If you don't want to wake up early and watch this fight, totally get it, man. It's for our global audience, yeah, it's a little bit more normal. But for the U.S. audience, it's tough. But the trio of these top three fights to me is incredibly exciting, and I like Mark De La Rosa, and I like Kai Kara-France. I ended up going with Kai Kara-France. Certainly the crew down in Australia has been super high on him for a long time, and he has looked really good thus far in his UFC career. But De La Rosa, listen, man, he's a tough dude. He's got some talents. He's got a slick little submission game. I think he can prove problematic. I think Kara-France is just a little bit better. I think he's just a little notch above right now. But I'm excited for the fight. I think it's a really, really good flyweight fight. I think this is I'm glad to see good flyweight matchups happening, and I'm excited. These are the three fights I was most interested in, so I'm glad they got paired together at the top.
Yeah, Kara-France took 75% of the readers.
Wow.
So that's another really high one. Yeah, I mean, that's a good one. De La Rosa, only two of the staff actually picked on him. He's one of these ones that I've discounted him in the past, and he's proven me wrong. So this could be another case too, where if you overlook him, he has the strength and he has the speed to surprise you.
Yep.
I didn't pick him in this one, but it doesn't mean that I couldn't be wrong.
No doubt. All right, let's give you a couple other things to look for. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of new names on here and a lot of foreign names, but it's also on the main card. But Mizuki Inoue is an absolute stud against Wu Yanan. Should be a very fun fight. So I think that fight is going to be really fun. So, I mean, 4 out of the 5 main card fights I'm pretty excited about, and I'll actually circle back to the other one. Every fight here on the main card has something for me, but to me, the one that's kind of buried on here that I'm surprised about, Damir Ismagulov versus Thiago Moises, way down there on the prelims, and I think part of it was, I mean, I'm just guessing here. I don't get to talk to the matchmakers about why they build the fights the way they do, and there's a lot of factors. I mean, sometimes the way the cards are built have to do with local broadcasting rights. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that gets built in, but Damir Ismagulov and Thiago Moises being the third fight of the night, I think is probably – there's so many newcomers and there's so many fighters that nobody's ever really heard of in the start that I think they wanted to bury something down there just to make sure that there was a little bit of interest, that it wasn't just like hey, here's a bunch of local ticket sellers that you don't need to watch. But Damir Ismagulov versus Thiago Moises, I think, is going to be a phenomenal fight. And I said I would circle back to it. So one thing I started to do, and it's actually kind of made it more exciting for me, I started doing a rookie report earlier this year, just grading the newcomers, looking at the newcomers and kind of judging their potential. And to be honest with you, I kind of stole the idea from Dan Tom. Not that anybody's ever not thought about grading people before, but I like Dan Tom's grading the winners of the Contender Series, and like what it looks like their future holds. And I like grading the newcomers, and it gets decent traffic, but at the same time, I understand, a lot of people aren't worried about UFC newcomers. But it's fun for me to watch the people I've graded come back in on their second fight to see if I was kind of right about what I saw. So I'll just point this out. Movsar Evloev, that is the undefeated fighter on the main card, I gave him a B+. I gave him a B+ on my ranking. So there's I said every fight on the main card has something. So B+, potential. I'm not saying like guaranteed success, but I saw something there, so I'm excited to see. And then Derek Krantz, who's going against Song Kanan. Derek Krantz came in on short notice, but showed some things there. I actually gave him an A-.
Really?
Him an A-. So
that's a tough fight right there.
Yeah, that is it. He's getting a tough matchup.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
So anyway, anything else? I mean, anything else you're excited about there? I mean, Andre Sukumtat is returning as well. I mean, like I said, I get it. This is going to be one that most people don't watch live with me. But if you're up and you're watching live, just know that I am too. Yep. And if you want to hit me on Twitter or whatever, I'll do my best to hit you back. We could chat a little bit. But what do you feel? What's your plans?
Well, I love me some ladies, so I'm excited to see Mizuki Inoue.
She's solid.
She is super solid, so I'm super happy to see that one. Thiago Moises is always a fun one to watch.
Yeah, that fight's super good.
Yeah, I mean, Sukumtat, always good to see that guy. He's a fun, super, super exciting guy.
And when you look at his Farah Hanoun, he's an American top team now too. So
is he really?
Yeah, he spoke with Farah Hanoun.
I was gonna say, don't let his records fool you. If you look at, somebody might just look and say, oh, he's 13-7. He's probably not that good.
Sukumtat is in some fights.
He's a fucking warrior, man. He is always exciting to watch. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see. I mean, there's a lot of names here I don't know a lot about.
9 newcomers.
Yeah,
dude.
so I'm
newcomers.
kind of excited to see. I know if they're showing up here, this is always a great opportunity for fighters to really showcase it. And it's like one of those fights that they're always like, oh, it's a so-and-so card in so-and-so country, so I'm probably not going to watch it. But these fighters, I think they just use it. They know that this is my shot. This is the only other chance I'm going to get. They're in my backyard, or they're in my somewhat part of the country of the world.
Yep.
So they show up and they just bring it. So I'm assuming that is going to happen here. So yeah, there's a lot of fighters with great records. So I mean, it should be a fun night. So, or morning, super early morning.
That's it, super early morning. All right, a couple of things. A lot of people have been asking about UFC 243, and is it getting another title fight? Is it getting a bigger co-main event? I got to be honest, I don't think it is. It's selling well. Our man Lucas McIver, by the way, hit me up, and he said there are only 4,800 unsold seats right now.
Wow.
Now, I have no idea who his sources are, but I can tell you, Lucas is connected. My man Lucas knows. So he says there's only 4,800.
There's only 11 fights booked right now.
I know. And so that's what a lot of people are asking. What's it going to get?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I think ideally, they would add Holloway Volkanovski. Like, I think if there was any way to pull that off, they would have. But I think they obviously knew that it was going to be difficult. And, Holloway ultimately decided, look, I'm not ready, and that's totally fair. Put nothing on
Where's
him.
your boy Tuivasa at?
Tuivasa is on there.
Is he on there?
Yeah, he's on there. But
he's way down there. What is he
I
doing
know.
so far down there?
They got him way down there.
I was like, why is he not up there? That's why I didn't think he was on there, because I didn't scroll down far enough. Oh, man.
I know, but
really?
we're talking at this point, man. At this point, we're talking about 4 or 5 weeks out. I just don't think you're gonna have any more high-level fights announced in 5 weeks' time. It's just kind of a gut feeling. I haven't spoken to anybody about that. But if Lucas is right, and there's only 4,800 seats unsold in that stadium,
it's not like they need it. But 11 fights that's odd number.
Yeah, I think they'll get another fight or two, but I just don't think it's going to be
a title fight.
Yeah, people are wanting a title fight or a real co-main, as they say. Which, by the way, that's not a bad co-main right now, man. It's not. It's a good fight.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the top 3 fights, I mean, those are really good fights. And then as you go down the lines, I mean, there's good names. I mean, people aren't going to be clamoring, but I mean, the Australians are awesome about showing up for events. So, I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all. I think you could have just had the top fight, and I think they probably would have sold out.
That's it. And I think that's what the UFC realized. That fight is so big, it's basically we're going to make it a one-fight card. I will say, one thing Australia is getting, the MMA Roadshow in whole. The full combination, the full set is going.
We're going back to our second home.
Yeah,
we've been adopted in Australia in the past, so looking to rejoin with the family over there. I haven't even told any of those cats yet, so I'm looking forward to see that we're both going.
Nice.
That we're going. So yeah, that's always fun. So yeah, shout out to the hardcore Junkie and Roadshow fans over there, man. There's a great MMA support over there. I mean, like, that was one of the first places when I worked with the UFC. That was the first place I ever went to that I saw like a sort of the Fight Club fan club thing where they literally had their own thing going outside of the UFC's like Fight Club, all this other stuff. I mean, they had their own like watch parties and get-togethers throughout the fight week. I mean, their support is amazing, and that was my first view into how big MMA and the UFC is in Australia, was seeing the support of that. So every time we've gone there, it's always been a really good time. So I'm very excited to get back and to see our Australian family, our Australian brothers and sisters over there.
I bet we'll have a frosty beverage or two down there.
At least 2.
All right. Last couple things, because we've been talking for a long time, but it's been good to be back together, man. I've been rolling solo,
that first
man.
hour was good, and it was heavy, man. Like, I felt like we needed to talk about a lot of stuff, because we talked about, like, even just like the BJ and a lot of the other stuff. The first hour was heavy, but it was a lot of good stuff to go. But yeah, I think a lot of it too is just the fact that we're finally here, and then we can actually talk about some stuff, So.
Which we won't be next week, because this was so good. Why would we do it again?
We were like, can't follow it up.
By the way, next week, I'll get to that in a second. Two quick things. CM Punk, my man CM Punk, my broadcast partner, he is starring in a movie called Girl on the Third Floor. Go check out the trailer. It came out this week on YouTube. Girl on the Third Floor. It looks scary as hell. It is a horror movie, and it looks super scary.
Is he a bad guy?
So go check that out.
Is he a victim?
He's not a bad guy.
Is he a victim? Does he get killed?
He's clean shaven. He doesn't have a beard.
Interesting.
Go check it out.
But he's always kind of had, like, I mean, his beard. I mean, he's more of like a goatee sort of thing.
I don't know. I only know him with the beard. I've never seen. I don't follow.
I guess he does. Yeah, I guess so.
So go check it out. Go check out Girl on the Third Floor. I'm telling you, the trailer looks scary as hell.
Does it?
Super scary.
Do you see him in the trailer?
Oh yeah, it's not a bit piece. He's starring in it.
No shit.
Yeah, he's starring in it. He actually was talking to me about it.
Is he the killer?
No. I guess I wouldn't say the victim. He's like this. Like, the things are happening around him, I guess.
Interesting.
At least that's what I can tell from the thing, from the trailer.
Interesting. I wonder if it's like kind of like a playoff of. Well, I guess I'll have to see the trailer. Makes me think of, like, who was it? Hitchcock had. What was the one where the guy was in his apartment, but he'd look across the way and he sees like a murder or something, and somehow he gets brought into it.
Not that.
Yeah.
It's intense, man. It's intense. Definitely worth checking out, man. I'll make you watch this.
Wow,
I should have made you watch it before we got started. But no, he's a star. We were talking about it when we did the CFFC event last week. We were talking about it. So
good for him.
Yeah,
so shit's rolling for him. Good for him.
He's doing good. Also, I've had a couple of people. I've seen it on Twitter, social media, or whatever, wondering why MMA Junkie isn't covering the anti-piracy lawsuit that's happening here, the hearings this week. Trust me, we'll have coverage. We're just not covering every day. Yes, I appreciate the outlets that are, and some of them are absolute experts in it, man. And I appreciate what they are bringing to the game. Your Bloody Elbows of the world, your those they've been doing some phenomenal work. But trust me, we will have coverage. I will admit that we are not the economic experts that some of them are, and so that's why we haven't had coverage on a daily basis.
I didn't even know what was going on.
But when it goes, see, there you go. Don't watch Connor. Doesn't know. That's why you host an MMA podcast, because
it talks about cleaning our balls and drinking beer. I got that shit down. My balls is clean, and I got my beer down.
Thank you, Manscaped. All right, listen. I'll be in Abu Dhabi next week, so I'll be out there. Mike Bond will be out there. Fatah Noon will be there. We'll make sure we get her on there so you can hear her debut.
Someday I'll
on
meet
the MMA
her.
Roadshow.
Someday I'll meet her.
You will. Is
One this your first time meeting her?
Yes, first time meeting her.
Cool.
No. Actually, I met her in London a long time ago.
Okay.
Before she was, like 4 years ago.
Very cool.
You will be in San Jose.
They call it San Jose.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Didn't get that right. You will be there out in San Jose, covering Bellator. So we'll make sure and bring you some covers. The MMA Roadshow is bringing you everything from both sides of the planet. That's how we do. In the meantime, we're just going to finish up these frosty beverages, make sure my broken toe is not hurting too bad.
I might just go and clean my balls again.
It might as well. I mean, you got
Thank you, Manscaped.
Thank you, Manscaped. If you go clean your balls. Thanks for listening.